What's the most obnoxious attention-seeking behavior you've witnessed? A woman at work stopped me to say she's a new grandmother and I say congratulations. She then asks, clearly wanting a compliment, if she looks old enough to be a grandmother. This woman looks like the woman from Kingpin. Friend of mine was dating a woman who wanted to be an opera singer. She started singing during dinner at the Olive Garden. Loudly. My mother-in-law has a frenemy like this. You can't take the woman anywhere with a piano, or you'll be stuck there 5 hours later while she treats whoever else is still in the room to a too loud, overly flowery rendition of some song from the 30s. Look up Hyacinth from the British sitcom Keeping Up Appearances. You're describing her exactly. One time when I was like 17 I nearly drowned. While my friends were checking on me, the drama queen of the group started having a full-blown panic attack. All she needed was everyone to flock around her instead, and she was fine. It didn't bother me, but it was the time I realized she did that a lot, having panic attacks when the attention is on someone else. My friend is prone to real anxiety attacks and once one started while we were at Disneyland, so she asked me to drive us home. So we are driving down the freeway and I'm trying to soothe her and keep it light, but I rubbed my eyes. Big mistake. I had rubbed on sunscreen and we'd been at the park such a short time I hadn't had occasion to wash my hands. My eyes start burning and watering so bad I can't see while driving down the freeway at 50 miles per hour. The adrenaline of the situation pulled my friend out of her anxiety attack, and she was able to help me change over all the lanes and exit the freeway and pull into the nearest parking lot. So, yeah, that's my story, where my friend did the opposite of your drama queen. People who fake panic attacks don't seem to understand how people with real anxiety feel. Nobody just starts screaming and breaking down in public, unless they have an entirely different disorder. I used to have panic attacks in the middle of school, and would still have the ability to quietly excuse Miss Ralph to the bathroom before I start freaking out. And yeah, you can sort of hold them off if the situation requires it. I had a friend who used to pretend to faint regularly. Once it became obvious it was just an act, we started ignoring her when she'd faint, and then she'd get up crying because no one cared enough to check on her. This was just one of the plethora of issues she had. There's one of those in the periphery of my social circle. My honcho watched her pretend to faint to the ground, pause, slyly peek around to see if anyone noticed, then readjust her fainted body into a more walkway centralized position that might be noticed sooner. Super sad. I knew a girl who did this when she felt attention was on someone else or wanted more attention. She would faint sitting up and standing up too. As in just dramatically letting her head fall forward then standing there with her eyes closed. My husband's family refused to attend our very small wedding unless they could bring 3 times the number of people we invited and have it be a combination wedding / morbid memorial service for someone who died 7 years before who we were not close to. Their compromise was the hordes of extra guests would attend the reception but not eat the food. They still don't talk to us because we didn't make our wedding a memorial service. I still wonder what my side of the family would have made of that if we had. Combination wedding / memorial. Where the peep do they do that? My ex-girlfriend once threatened to run away because I went on a day trip with a few friends that she couldn't attend because she worked Saturdays. She was 29. I have a great mental picture of a 29-year-old woman tying a handkerchief to a stick and sitting in the bushes at the end of the driveway or clambering up a tree into a treehouse until she has to pee or gets hungry, of course. I have a friend on Snapchat who constantly sends out snaps like I wish boys would tell me how cute I am. Always followed like 30 minutes later by another saying something like I guess nobody loves me, okay cool, guess I'll just go die alone. They send these snaps like every other day and it gets more cringeworthy every time. Oh dear. I know a girl who posts storied saying I wish someone would just love me or looking for a long-term relationship, followed by I don't need anyone in my life, I'm independent a few days later. My sister gets off on sympathy I mean, she really enjoys hearing "oh, I'm sorry for you guys" praying. Anytime someone in her family is sick, she makes a long drawn out Facebook post asking for prayers for whichever sick person it is. She has also been known to send out a 30-40 group text asking for prayer. She had 4 kids, and one of them is always sick. Good God, your kid has a freaking cold, you don't need to let everyone know about it. Drives me nuts. The funny thing is that her friends have started to figure it out and now hardly anyone ever comments on it. It's like Munchausen's by proxy. Light. I remember being on some Minecraft server with some friends when I was 15. Probably around 2 AM. Somehow the convo got deep and someone said something edgy, like "I know true pain." Now there's this girl in this group who always had to be the best, or whatever. She tried to convince us that, at the young age of 15, she was becoming a doctor and was already in uni at Oxford. She also called me stupid because I was not a doctor at 15 and couldn't learn an entire language overnight like she apparently could. I'm not joking. Once around 10 PM she said, "I think I'm gonna learn another language. Swedish seems cool," and then claimed she was now fluent in it the next morning. Short story. I already knew she was an attention seeker and didn't really like her because she tried to talk over everyone. Anyway, she sees this "I know true pain" message and takes that as an invitation to do her stuff. She goes, "Oh, you think you know true pain?" And then goes on to describe in detail how her best friend had been hit by a car when they were 6, and how she held her dying friend in her arms while waiting for help to arrive. She mentioned other random stuff, like "my mother died from cancer" or whatever. That part was true, but she milked it often. Then comes the grand slam. She says, "I saw my uncle jump out of the Twin Towers on 9/11. I climbed into the wreckage and held up his pelvis bone. My mom took a picture of it. Now, it was at this moment that something seemed amiss. You see, I was older than her, and even I had no memory of 9/11. I was 2 years old." This was the first piece of logic I pointed out against this statement. She replied with, "I have picture perfect memory," which I'm willing to maybe believe. My next question was, "Okay, but you must understand. The planes hit the towers pretty high up. How did you, an infant, comprehend the disaster, and then not only see, but recognize your uncle out of hundreds of jumpers falling from floors that were likely 80 to 100 stories up?" She replied with something dumb, trying to move on with her sob story, but I'm on a roll. Sleep deprived me continued, "But let's say you somehow, maybe, 1 in a million noticed your uncle, and specifically your uncle, falling to his death from the top of the burning World Trade Center when you were an infant. Okay, sure. Unfortunately, you then claim to have, as an infant, slipped away from your family, past the emergency services, and found your way to ground zero, where you then climbed onto the burning remains of the World Trade Center and, in all 220 floors of destruction, found a pelvis bone that just so happened to belong to your uncle? More importantly, why did your mother see this and decide to take a picture? I don't remember much from that night, but that always stuck with me because being a 15-year-old, she pissed me off, and this was me basically calling her a dumbass. Also, it's a fun story to share. TL. Doctor. A girl I knew tried to one-up an edgy comment by saying she saw her uncle jump out of the World Trade Center on 9/11, and that she has a picture taken by her mom of her on the wreckage holding up said uncle's pelvis bone. She was maybe 2 years old during 9/11. I refuted the statement by pointing out how peeping stupid said statement was. TL. Doctor of TL. Doctor, peep off Audrey. To be fair, she is a doctor. Naturally she would recognize her own uncle's pelvis bone. Doctors can do that, you know. Even at age 2. My dad once texted me a noose and told me if I didn't stop by his house to visit he'd take his life. That sounds like something my dad would say ironically. My dad did that minus the noose. He just sent me a long email saying goodbye, but didn't end up doing it. Now he pretends it never happened. Pretending it never happened could go both ways. It's hard to talk about speep like that. It's personal and embarrassing. Oh. At my secretary's wedding, one of her bridesmaids tried to make the her. She demanded a different cut to her dress because the chosen one was not flattering. All the other bridesmaids and the bride had basically the same hairdo. Then our special princess got her own fancy thing going that was different enough to stand out. She got the DJ to play some obscure song that her and the bride listened to like 4 times on a lunch break, so she could have her special time on the dancer floor with the bride. After the dancer floor shenanigans, she then fainted because she was stressed from all the attention. There was a photo booth. Most people were in there twice. Once with their dates etc. and then with the bride/groom. Our royal pain in the ass was in there at least 10 times that night. My cousin had her cousin other side of the family as her MOH, and when it came time for the speech, the MOH made it all about her. Basically pages and pages of how she was the one that the husband was talking to first, and how she had gotten the couple together and basically how everything happened because of her. Isn't she wonderful? It wasn't even in a joking way. She was 100% serious. Kind of an uncomfortable 20 minutes. I just don't get why people still make it about themselves on someone else's special day. Kind of an uncomfortable 20 minutes. Peep anyone who makes a 20-minute speech at someone else's wedding. For that matter, don't make a 20-minute speech at your own. Jesus.